notice here pretty quickly that the RICO 12 meeting is a little bit different today, and that's because I am the guest speaker. I'm the normal host, but I'm the guest speaker this time, and Lisa S., who is our Afro-Euro RICO 12 speaker meeting host, is the host here, and she does an amazing job. You'll notice the meeting goes a little bit differently, but it's really good, I think. So jump in, and if you like the way she does things, check out the Afro-Euro RICO 12 meetings that are also posted here on this podcast, and go to attend a live meeting if you're in a place where you can be there at 8 a.m. UK time on Fridays. Thanks again for listening, and here we go.
Okay, so welcome to RICO 12, everyone. So lovely to have you here. My name is Lisa S., and I have the disease of alcoholism. So we'll begin with a moment's silence, followed by the we version of the set-aside prayer. Dear God, please set aside anything we think we know about ourselves, about our disease, about the big book, the 12 steps, the program, the fellowship, the people in the fellowship, and all spiritual terms, especially you, God, so that we may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help us see the truth. We surrender this next hour to you. Your will, not ours, be done. Amen. So I'm really honoured and privileged this afternoon to be hosting this speaking meeting podcast. I normally do the Afro-Euro one, what has been already done the first thing this morning. But this evening, or my evening, your afternoon, wherever you're to, everyone welcome. RICO 12 is an organisation with the mission of learning and sharing the similarities of addiction of all kinds, and gaining and sharing tools and hope from others who are walking a similar path. We come together from all places, faiths and backgrounds to gain tools and hope from others. Speakers from our past meetings have represented many fellowships, addictions and afflictions, and we look forward to continuing to add to the diversity of speakers and backgrounds. And I hope you'll reach out if you think your experience, strength and hope will benefit this special community. We're continuing at the moment with a 12-week series, and today's speaker is Justin B. from Spokane, who is going to be continuing the series with step 10. We'll get Justin to share, and then we can follow on by questions and answers afterwards. During the share, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat. If you want to be anonymous, just pop in anonymous or directly put the question to myself. Or if you want to raise your hand after the share, please do so and come on in. So the RICO 12 family of recovery resources continues to grow and has more and more resources for the addict and the loved ones of those addicted. We have some just fantastic news. It's so exciting. The RICO 12 speaker meeting podcast surpassed 250,000 downloads in this last week. So how cool is that? It's just amazing for all these, the opportunities for this to be listened to by so many and by all over the world. And, all the faithful listeners from over 170 nations. Wow, 8,554 cities around the world. It's just phenomenal. It is just mind-blowing. It's just beautiful. So we're so blessed and pleased that these resources are being accessed. We really are. It's just so heartwarming. It really is. So there's other resources. There's so many in RICO 12. One is the Big Book Roundtable, where we've got the lovely David G and our Justin here and Nikki M, and they go through line by line. It's just phenomenal again, and really is worth a listen to. We can access this through RICO 12 website and through the community. All this will be put in the chat throughout the share when Justin's speaking. So tradition 7, RICO 12 is a self-supporting service, and we appreciate your help in keeping us working our step 12 in this manner. And we gratefully accept one-time contributions through PayPal, Venmo, and Wise. They'll be put in the chat throughout the share. It's also on the website. We also offer a monthly subscription program called RICO 12 Spearheads. To join in and help support these cool projects, please consider donating at www.rico12.com/support, or again, click on the link in the chat of this live meeting. So we look forward each meeting to growing deeper in effectiveness and understanding as we learn from and with our special speakers. And today, what a special speaker we have, our very own Justin B. from Spokane. Justin is a multi-disciplinary addict. Sexual addiction is what brought him into the rooms, brought him to his knees, and resistantly crawling into the rooms of recovery in September of 2013. After a rocky start and lots of opposing the basics of recovery, he finally jumped into the work and hasn't looked back since. Justin is the steward of this RICO 12 family of recovery resources and loves writing and speaking with others about the miracles of recovery in his life. He is so blessed that his wife of nearly 30 years is still with him and has 4 children and 2 grandchildren. He imperfectly experiences the line from page 108 of the big book. Today, most of our people are better spouses and parents than ever before. Wow. Today, Justin's going to speak on his experience, strength, and hope and insights around step 10. Over to you, Justin. I'm so excited for this.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. I so appreciate you being willing to step in and do this. You're doing an amazing job with the Afro Euro RICO 12, and thank you for helping out with this. Hey, I am Justin B. I'm a son of an all-powerful, perfectly loving God and an addict, a multidisciplinary addict living in the miracle of one day at a time recovery. As was mentioned there, I've been in the room since 2013. I did not want to go in. In fact, after my first meeting, I was determined to never go back again. I was going to sneak out and run away. But my hero and the hinge pin of my recovery, Benjamin, tracked me down, grabbed me, and this is how I remember it, saying, "You're in the right place. I'll see you back next week." And I absolutely did not want to come back next week, but that rang in my mind, and I'm somebody who does not like to back down from a challenge, and I saw it as a challenge, and so I came back the next week, and the next week, and the next week. And soon enough, I eventually got the courage or humility, whatever it is, to say, "Hey, I'm Justin, and I think I might be an addict." And then a couple of weeks later, we were covering step 1, and I said, "Hey, I'm Justin, and I am a big fat liar." And at that point, this same guy, Benjamin, grabs me and he says, "Justin, it's time to work the steps. Here's how you get a sponsor." And, those were the first things that fell out of my bucket that was just full of muck and sludge and just a mess, that allowed just a crack of light to come in and replace that. I'm grateful to talk about step 10. When we were putting together this 12-week series, I purposely left step 10 open to see if anybody would jump in and say, "I want step 10." Kind of selfishly, because I wanted to do step 10. It is so vital to my own recovery. It's so vital to the people that I work with. And I just want to first break a myth out there. Oftentimes steps 10, 11, 12, step 10 is called maintenance steps. I don't think that's the case. I think they're growth steps. I think they're growth and improving steps. It's not maintaining, because if I'm just maintaining, it's not going to be good enough tomorrow. The same thing that I do today is not going to keep me well tomorrow. I've got to keep improving that. It becomes a way of living. In fact, the paragraph I'm really going to dive into talks about that. But step 10 gathers the first 9 steps. It incorporates all of those first 9 steps and carries them into each new day. And, and I see step 10 and I see recovery really as a bucket now, as a bucket that I'm carrying everywhere I go. And what I put into that bucket, I become. Inactive addiction, when I'm an untreated alcoholic, I may be sober, but I'm insane and out of my mind crazy. I'm pouring in all sorts of garbage, resentments and selfishness and dishonesty and fear and self-pity. Self-pity is one that I've been throwing in there in bucket loads into that bucket here recently. And I become that person. But when I fill it with selflessness, with courage, with love and honesty and, acceptance, I become that person. And I think that's super powerful. I'm going to read some of this paragraph of step 10. This is on page 84 of the big book. And really quick, I used to start people, at step 1 when I would sponsor them. I'd say, hey, let's start here because powerlessness and unmanageability is vital to know. Yes, it is. It's the only step that I need to do perfectly. But for the last year and a half, 2 years or so, as I've been working with new sponsees, the first place I go is to I start at page 83, bottom of 83, and talk about the 9th step promises and say, here's something to look forward to. Then I talk about step 10, introduce them to this daily, minute-by-minute practice, and I get them started on doing this minute-by-minute practice right away. And then we talk about the 10th step rewards, warnings, and promises, and we talk about step 11 and go through the, when we retire at night, they're on page 86, and on awakening on page 87, and start doing these things because I have learned that if step 1 is where I start and it takes me till step 3 to really get to God and step 10 and 11 to really get to the daily practices, I'm going to lose my mind in between and I'm going to relapse. I'm going to slip back. At least that's my experience. But if I get right into these practices and get right into the power, that capital P power from God, then when I'm bat bleep crazy, I have the tools available if I remember to use them. So here we go. Page 84. I'm going to read this. This thought brings us to step 10. Well, which thought? Well, we've got the 9th step paragraphs. They'll always materialize if we work for them. So working for these promises, this is what brings us to step 10. We continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. One thing that I share with my sponsees is, we're going to get to step 4 and step 5 where you're going to clean up the past. You're going to dive deep into cleaning up the past. But let's make the past the past. Starting today, let's make it so you don't have to make big amends that you start creating today. Let's do that by doing step 10. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We're vigorously doing this. It's not just a once a day or once a week review. It's as I go along. We've entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. And I think that growth in understanding and effectiveness is so vital to keep that connection with we've entered the world of the Spirit. With the Spirit, I've got to continue growing and not just maintaining. It's got to expand. It's got to increase. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Step 10 is not a check. On to step 11. It continues for a lifetime. And it is not an overnight matter. I have to continue to get better. Practice. Get better is not the right word. Practice. And as I practice things, the moment between stimulus and response goes from being just a snap, almost nothing, to I can pause, I can analyze, and I can do this step 10, which honestly, once you've practiced it a lot, just takes a few seconds. And here's where step 10 happens. 1, we continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. As I go through my day, I watch. I'm aware. Okay, where is selfishness creeping in? Where is resentment happening? Where am I feeling fearful? And where am I being dishonest? And it's not in a fearful way or in a hyper-vigilant way. I'm just aware. And when I start getting disturbed, as we see at the bottom, the bottom of page 87, as we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful. That's the thing. I can pause. I can breathe, and I can do the next step. So I'm watching for those things, and when they crop up, not if, when they crop up, and they crop up many times each day for me, we ask God at once to remove them. I don't put it on a list and say, okay, I'll do this when I get home tonight. No, it's at once. God, I just spotted fear. I am very afraid. And I, in this prayer that I do, I'm afraid of, and I itemize it. I'm afraid of being unemployed. I spotted this fear, and I spotted this resentment. I feel rejected. And that's selfish that I feel rejected because of these other things. And I spot these things and I say, God, I've spotted this. We ask him at once to remove it. Please remove this from me. What's next? After asking God to remove it, we discuss them with someone immediately. It doesn't say at the end of the day when you do your check-in call with your sponsor or, however you have that set up. It says right now. Now, maybe I'm in the middle of a work meeting and I can't pick up the phone and say, hey, Joe, I'm fearful of getting fired here, but I can almost always thumb out a text message. Hey, Joe, I spotted fear. I'm pausing. I've asked God to remove it. And now I'm turning my thoughts to someone I can help. And I'll get there in just a second. And that text message takes what? 15 seconds to thumb out? It's really quick. So after I've discussed it with someone immediately, if I've already stuck my foot in my mouth or lashed out and caused something that harmed somebody else, I need to make amends quickly, right now. If my wife and I are having a discussion and she says something and I go, bam, right back at her and say, no, that is not how it is. And I, kind of elevate the thing. I recognize selfishness or resentment, whatever that is. And immediately after I do ask God, talk to somebody else, I come back and I say, I was wrong in how I responded there. In fact, it was a reaction, not a response. And I was wrong. How can I make that right? I make amends quickly. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's not when I do my step 4 in a few months with my sponsor. No, it's now. It's right now. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Okay, what does that look like? Does that mean I have to all of a sudden get up from where I'm sitting in at work and go out and feed the homeless? No, that's not what it means. It means I resolutely turn my thoughts to someone I can help. Now, thoughts become actions, but if I'm at work, turning my thoughts to someone I can help actually means get where my feet are, get where I'm sitting, and get back to work. Get back to what I'm supposed to be doing, serving my customers, serving my boss, serving my family, bringing home, whatever needs to happen. And that can be in anything. If I'm at the grocery store and suddenly something pops up that triggers lust or selfishness in me, I call lust selfishness because I want what I want, when I want it, how I want it, with who I want it. That's selfish. It's not just lust. There's selfishness at the root of it. I can then say, okay, I spotted selfishness. I asked God to remove it. Prayer, real quick prayer, thumb it out in a text message. Turning my thoughts to someone I can help means I'm at the grocery store. I'm here to shop for food for my family. I get back to where my feet are and shop for food for my family. That's how I turn my thoughts to someone I can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code, and I just think that's such a vital thing in all of this process. I mean, we've got the sick man's prayer from pages 66, 67. When somebody, when I don't like the way somebody's talking to me, treating me, whatever, I need to pause and offer a sick man's prayer and have love and tolerance for that person. This person is a sick person just like me. Pray for them pray that I can have the same tolerance, pity, and patience that I would show a sick friend. And that's a powerful way of mixing this into step 10. I want to go back to this bucket idea. What I put in that bucket is what I become. Now, as I go throughout the day and I do this, I'm removing the things as quickly as they go into that bucket. I'm opening up space for God to use me so that I can be useful to others, turn my thoughts to someone I can help so I can be helpful to others. Now, in the step 4 or 5 process, there's going to be a deep cleansing that happens there from the past stuff. But at least right now, I'm not adding anything new to it that stays in there. And there's a new to me prayer that I've added to my step 10. Yes, God, please remove this from me. Well, what do I say in that? I say, God, empty me of, as I'm envisioning this bucket, empty my bucket of selfishness. And I identify it. Fill me with selflessness. And I can envision God just dripping in or pouring in with a fire hose, or, just sprinkling in with a little, gardening watering can. Selflessness. And so, God, empty me. God, fill me. God, use me. Now send me out to do something with it. If you've just filled me with selflessness, what is the next right thing I can do to be selfless? And that's that little prayer, and this analogy of the bucket has really opened my eyes and changed my life as to how I approach step 10, how quickly and envisioning it. I'm one that I see it so much better when I have a vision of an object, a vision of a process that seems tangible to me. And this bucket is just so powerful to me. And it makes it visceral and I think more relatable for me. One of the realizations I have as I'm going through, I'm going to go back to kind of step 4 or 5 in this, but it's even in step 10. I realize that most of what is in my bucket, the sludge, the yuck, it didn't come from other people. It came from me. It came from how I reacted and responded to what other people said or did. I think I need to take, I was speaking to someone recently, just in the last few weeks, and she told me, she said, I learned to just starting to assume that the person I'm talking to actually loves me, actually doesn't hate me, that even when they say something that irks me, they're likely not saying it to purposely stick a needle in my side and say you're an idiot. They may be saying, hey, here's something I see that you can improve, but I'm saying it because I love you. I want the best for you. They may not say it perfectly because, well, I don't say it perfectly either. When I see something like that, I drop in, what you ought to do, or, a way that when I say it, I may be manipulative in the way that I do it. But that's not my intent. My intention isn't because I hate the person. My intention is I love you. I want what's best for you. I'm just not healthy and perfect at the way I communicate it. So when this person I was talking to told me that, I was like, I just need to assume that when somebody corrects me, or I think they're criticizing me or whatever, that they're doing it from a place of love, that they really want to help me. And that helps me back off and recognize when I'm filling it with gunk, it's not that person's fault for saying, hey, Justin, here's something that I suggest you need to do, So that's what's in the bucket. It came from me. And if it stays in the bucket, it absolutely came from me. If I'm not willing to have it taken out, man, it's my fault. Even if somebody dumped something in that bucket that was uncalled for, if I didn't remove it and I kept it in there, it's all on me. And that bucket can get heavy. I mean, when I when I came into the rooms of recovery, I did not fly in on wings of eagles. If I ever took wing in life, if I was ever flying in active addiction or in untreated alcoholism, it was not on wings of eagles. An eagle had me in its talons and was taking me to do something that I didn't want to have done, and that's how I came crashing into the doors. And then, that bucket that I carry is so heavy. I have, as I start wrapping up here, I'm gonna jump just a little bit here, but that bucket can be so heavy. And when you set it down, or when you allow it to be emptied, God, empty me. all of a sudden the lightness that can be felt is crazy. I don't even know how heavy that bucket is until it's emptied, and then it feels like I'm walking on the moon. Kind of like, I don't know if you've ever done a backpacking trip and carried a really heavy backpack for miles, and you take it off and all of a sudden it feels like you're jumping as you're walking because that weight's off you. And I've had that experience in both in physical life with a backpack and in this spiritual life when that bucket is lightened in such a manner that I'm not dragging it along. So as I wrap up here, I just want to do this and land the talk in hope and identity and usefulness. The God who fills, the bucket cannot fill itself. I can fill it with all sorts of garbage, but God can fill it with good, with the daily bread, enough for today, enough of whatever I need for today. And when the bucket fills fast, it's an invitation to receive again. So if I just dump stuff in and then I have it removed, I think that's an invitation to say, okay, God, fill me again. And there's the God who fills. The God who fills is the one who says, all right, thank you for saying, empty me of this selfishness. Here's some selflessness. And the God who uses me, get out there with that selflessness. Help somebody. Get where your feet are. Serve your family, serve your friends, serve your neighbors, whatever it may be. And I just invite you in your step 10 practice to get in there and do the work. And you can do it exactly as laid out here in on page 84. Watch, ask God, talk to somebody, make amends if I've harmed anybody, turn my thoughts. That's step 10. And you can also incorporate God empty me, God fill me, God use me. And I'm just grateful to be here. So I think I'll pass with that. Thank you so much, Lisa, for allowing me to share. And I'm happy to do question and answer once we get there. Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M. and me, Justin B., on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M., streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
Thank you so much, Justin. I love that analogy of the bucket, and me too. I'm a very visual learner, so I love it when I've got something I can visualize, and I can visualize that bucket, and that's so good how you say empty me, get rid of that garbage, then fill me with the love and tolerance and all the beautiful things, and then use me. I love that. Thank you so much, Justin. So it's now time for our speaker to answer your questions. If any of you want to come in and ask Justin some questions, please feel free, or if you want to pop them in the chat and want to be anonymous, please do so. I've got a question for you, Justin. You know, I smirk when I say this because sometimes I don't do that watch and pray and turn. And for me, I'm very aware of myself, but then there's certain circumstances, there's certain situations where I'm more not. So, and I'm not. So, for example, like when I'm around my young children, I seem to be more not so great at being aware and reacting much quicker than what I would say in a meeting, or even, you know, in the supermarket or in the street with my kids. I tend to react so instead of that pause and take that moment. Is there any areas of your life where you do struggle, and what would you suggest? How do you get around that? in practicing?
Yeah. Absolutely, Lisa. Thank you for that question, and thanks for allowing me to reflect on it. Yeah. It's kind of sad, but I think it's an almost universal truth. Definitely not universal, but I think most people, especially most of us who identify with the disease of alcoholism, probably those people we love the most are those that get our quickest reactions, that are just like a snap reaction that causes hurt, pain. And yeah, with my kids and my wife, those people that I love the most, I react much more quickly if I'm not aware of it. So how do I try and be aware of it? Um, I'm going to share an experience I had. This was, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 months ago. One of my daughters had a rough day, and I was trying to give her space. And at the end of the day, and I'm seeing this as clear as day, and I still feel sad about it. I'm not as wound up about it, but it still makes me sad. She lit into me about what a awful dad I was, and how I am just not present, which I'm not always present, and how I'm just not helpful, which I'm not always helpful. And she just lit into me. And when it started, I felt myself just wrap up tight, like, okay, I'm coming back at her, and I'm coming back hard. And but as she continued, gratefully, she continued on for quite a while. And rather than cut her off while she lit into me, I paused and I listened, and I asked God during that whole time, God, this is hard. I really want to come back and point the finger back, but that's not going to be helpful. Help me be helpful. And I think that's how I have to eventually get, by practicing more and more, especially with those people that I love the most. When I start feeling that coiling happen, I'm going to get defensive here. I'm going to prove them wrong. I have to, hopefully I can start recognizing that sooner and sooner, so that I can pause, ask God to remove it, and turn my thoughts, to being helpful. And I think it's that step 10 process. And it goes from happening that fast to hopefully happening that fast, so
Oh,
I
I
can
love
breathe a
that.
little bit before. Yeah.
Like you say sometimes, and I guess that's what I love when you did, say it's growth steps, and that's the point, I guess, isn't it? I love when you say that, because it's rinse, and repeat until it does, like it tells us, it gradually becomes a working part of my mind. And in some areas, it takes sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, with my instance with my children at times. Thank you, Justin. We have a question in the chat here. Should I do the 10th step when the other person is angry at me, or do I do the sick man prayer? One of my family members get very angry and even verbally abusive if I don't fulfill his expectations. This has been his behavior patterns. I live with him. What should be my big book response to this situation? Wow.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, thank you for the great service you're doing for this person. Second, it depends on if I'm in that situation, I'm naturally going to get defensive. I mean, if somebody's verbally, getting mean with me or whatever, all of a sudden I'm going to feel that coil up inside, like I'm going to respond back. And that's resentment. That's selfishness. I'm not being treated as I think I should be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's selfishness. Now, does that excuse them? Absolutely not. I need to say that sick man's prayer, and hopefully start seeing them with the same patience, pity, compassion that I would show a sick friend. But there's selfishness in there also that I need to identify for myself, because that's going to fill up my bucket. That selfishness is going to fill it up and block God out. And I need to get that out so that God can get in there and fill it with what it needs to happen. So that's how I think I would respond in that situation. Yes. Sick man's prayer. Yes. 10th step, because I'm feeling that selfishness or that resentment that's coming in. Maybe the fear, maybe if they're violently, verbally, angry at me, maybe I'm fearful of what they may do, or fearful what I may do in response. So yeah, step 10 is definitely needed in there also. Pass.
Great answer. And thank you for that question. That was really mind provoking. When you were reading that paragraph, Justin, I love it. The words, when it says, we've now entered the world of the spirit, and it always makes, it's just so warming. How do you take them words? What do them words mean to you?
Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform. Yeah, thank you for asking that question, Lisa, because when I read this paragraph to a newcomer, to somebody that I'm sponsoring for the first time, and this is one of the first paragraphs I read, that sentence almost doesn't fit in with it for the newcomer, and so how I do that is I say, okay, we're going to read this. We've entered the world of the spirit. And I go back, do you remember those promises we read, those 9th step promises? When those start coming true in your life, you will start realizing, I'm entering the world of the spirit here. I'm getting that connection and that power from someplace that is beyond human capacity, human aid to fill. And that's the world of the spirit. So, but now as I read it, hey, I'm seeing all of these promises in certain aspects of my life. Some come quicker, some slower, some come and go, depending on my spiritual fitness. But it's just that's how I read it. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Has there any? I guess you just did well, more so. Has there been over the years of your recovery? Has there been you've got a great example of where you did pause and do the right thing. Have you got any examples of where you didn't?
Yes. I'm going to think back here to one that kind of blew up in my face big time. It was I was working, and there was a situation at work where one of the people that worked for us was, had a very valid point, but it was something that I could not change. It was company policy. It was legal things. And I it's something that as I look at it now, I could have absolutely approached it differently. But when she came at me, it was kind of in an accusatory way. Hey, this is not right. This is absolutely not right. And I'm angry about this and angry about that. And I got defensive, and I was in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't do anything about that. Why are you yelling at me? This is policy. This is law. I can't change it. And that's basically what I said. I said, look, like it or not, you have to do it. And I didn't pause. I said it, and I said it in an aggressive tone. and it did not go over well. And she basically just screamed at me and hung up the phone and went on her way. And after the fact, I went, oh, crud, that was not. I reacted and I went in an accusatory tone, saying, hey, if you don't get in line, you're in trouble here. Whereas if I would have paused, asked God to remove the selfishness and the resentment I was feeling because I felt she was attacking me personally, even though she was not. She was attacking the things, but I took it personally, and so I responded back personally. I'm grateful that I was practicing this, because within 10 minutes, I picked up the phone and I called her back and I said, look, that was not the right way to do that. I was wrong in the way I responded. Can we have that conversation again? Are you willing to do that? And maybe I give me another chance to address this both accurately and kindly. And gratefully, she was willing to do that. But yeah, for a while there, it was, it turned ugly. So yeah, that was my experience where I didn't do well.
I smile there, Justin, because I often think of it, again, that visual, it's like the two sliding doors. I don't know if you've seen the film. And I think that if I don't do the pause and then I react and then and then there's, like you just said, that awful feeling after, and then, or the alternative is to do the pause and not react. And what a difference. It's the two opposite, really, isn't it, of the scenarios. What's the time there? Have we got any more questions coming in? No.
If there's not a question, I have another thought that just came in.
Go. Yeah,
this is
brilliant.
Another place. Yeah, you asked me if there's a place where I didn't do that very well, and I shared one that I fixed up pretty well. But there's one where I want to share where miraculously somehow I did things okay, and I want to share this experience with you if you're okay with that. This was about, I think, 6 months ago. My wife was in the hospital having a major surgery. My daughter was on one of her first days on the job at a new job she had. And we had some company in town that can bring a lot of stress into my life. And so my wife had just gone into surgery. I went to go get breakfast with this person that can bring a lot of stress into my life. And we were sitting down and we had just ordered but not received the food. And I get a call from paramedics saying, I'm here with your daughter. She just had a seizure. And she'd never had a seizure before, and just all of this stress going on all at the same time. And my wife is in surgery, unable to participate in this. I've got all of these things happening in my life. Oh, and I had also just been notified that I was going to be losing my job. So all of these things, the stresses in life. And I immediately just went to this feeling of fear, of resentment, of selfishness that just hit me. Why me? Why is this going on? And as immediately as I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm going to die here if I don't immediately address this. And so I paused. I asked God. I picked up the phone because I knew there's no way that this is just a thumbing out a text message thing. I've got to talk to somebody. And I reached out to somebody who has saved my life a few times before, it just in those desperate moments. And I said, hey, man, I got to talk. And I talked to him for about 20 minutes while I was driving to where my daughter was at work. And by the time I got there, had that talk, turning my thoughts, where are my feet at now? I'm here at my daughter's work, talking with the paramedics, making sure my daughter's okay and serving them. And I came through it sane, okay. Still very stressful. It didn't make the storms go away. The storms were still blowing, but I at least was able to stand in the storms and not shrink. So that's one of those miraculous things in my life where that worked.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that, Justin. Linda, come in.
Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Justin, so much for what you shared. I had some issues there with the app, so I was needed to go in and out to get it to work again. But my question, or maybe questions, is like, since you came into recovery and started to implement the 10 steps, and so from then until now, what has your experience been in the progression of your recovery? And what your 10 steps look like? Have you found yourself doing them more frequently or less? And what is it that you have been finding when you're doing the 10 steps, if you compare it then until now, if that makes sense?
It does. It makes total sense. Thank you for that question, Linda. When I first started the steps, the 10th step in my mind was a maintenance step. It was one I did, just check, at the end of the day, maybe just kind of review my day at the end of the day. And that's how it was. And honestly, I didn't really do it. And that figurative bucket just kept getting fuller and fuller and fuller until I needed to do another full step 4, step 5 process. As I've gone along, honestly, I can now work a step 10 dozens of times a day now, but it doesn't take a ton of time. I can do it in the moment, and 15 seconds I've worked it and I move through it. Now, if that keeps coming back, that same resentment or that same fear keeps coming back over and over and over again throughout the day, okay, it's time to to stop thumbing out a text and to pick up the phone and say, okay, I need to talk to somebody in addition to giving it to God and thumbing this out. I'm going to talk to somebody. I need your feedback. Help me see what I can do now to turn my thoughts to someone I can help so that I'm not dwelling on this anymore. But yeah, it's changed in duration. Previously, early on, if I did a step 10, it would take a while. It wasn't a quick thing. And now, like I said, 10 or 15 seconds, I can walk through a 10th step process right then and move on with my day, but I can do it dozens of times a day, and it's, so that's, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. And can I add another question in regards to that? Have you found the things have you found yourself more easily letting things go? Like things don't get to you as easily. The more you recognize your own part in things, like the nature of your character defaults, have you found that, well, that kind of you don't get into it, you don't go, it doesn't get to you as easily. It comes and then you can leave it and then you move on, rather than it gets to you.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, Linda. Yeah, I think part of that is the practice of it, but I think the other part of it is the idea of the sick man's prayer. That person is sick just like me. I mean, it's not to cast any shade or any blame or anything on the other person. It's to recognize they're just like me. They're human. They're struggling. And really their intention, I hope I can assume, comes from a place of love, that they really want me to improve. So in that process of accepting others as human just like me and accepting myself as human just like them, it's fairly rare that I get into the death spiral, of those emotions. Now, I got into that yesterday a little bit, in some self-pity that I had to 10th step over and over and over again. And even at the end of the day, I still felt that weight. But as I continued to do that, I think it becomes lighter, and it doesn't. So the death spiral hasn't taken me to relapse and, reset for a long time. I've been able to come out of it before big trouble. So I hope that was helpful there.
Thank you so much, Justin. Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for your questions, and thanks, Justin. Marianne, come in.
Hi, Marianne from New York. Sorry if I joined a little late, so I'm sorry if you addressed this already, Justin. With respect to turning your thoughts to help someone, is it your understanding that the help that helping someone means only program related help? Like, does it have to be helping someone in the 12 steps, or can it be helping, say, a neighbor, or a family member? Thank you.
Thanks for that question. Yeah, Marianne. Yes. The answer is yes. It's program and it's family, neighbor, person at the grocery store, whatever it may be. So the way I see that for myself is as I turn my thoughts and say, okay, God, what's the next right thing to do? Usually for me, it's go take out the trash. It's vacuum the floor. It's do the dishes. It's I'm here at the grocery store. Look for somebody who is struggling to pick up a heavy item and ask them, hey, can I help you with that? Can I help you put that away for you? It's getting to where my feet are and being aware of that. And if my feet are in a place where, 30 seconds later I get a call from somebody in program, pick up the phone. That's where my feet are, and that's where I can be of help and turn my thoughts to someone I can help. So, yeah, that's kind of how I see it, and I hope that was helpful too.
Yeah, I love that, Justin. Practicing the principles in all our affairs, I guess, isn't that wherever our feet are at. I love it when you say that. So we got time for this one last question from the lady and saying, carrying on from the question earlier, that she's not angry, she's sad because she expects care from him. Is that her being selfish? It does go on to say that that abusive person is codependent addict, and they do their best to fulfill his expectations, but still he is very angry and unsatisfied. So should this be a 10th step?
I still think when in doubt, 10th step it. Even if maybe where you are wrong, where I am wrong in that instance, maybe a sliver. And maybe where it is I've got unrealistic expectations that this person would treat me better because I'm trying to do my best to treat them better. I may be trying to run the show a little bit. Hey, can't you see how much service I'm giving you? You should treat me better. Well, if it's sadness, I've got unrealistic expectations maybe. If it's resentment because, hey, you should be treating me better, that definitely needs a 10th step. Yeah, I think when in doubt, a 10th step is a easy, thorough way to put myself in check and just say, okay, am I really doing the best I can? And maybe I am. Maybe I am. And in that 10th step, maybe, the next right thing that comes to mind is to, step out of this situation and go serve somebody else. Go be useful to somebody else. Step away for 10 minutes or an hour or whatever. And maybe eventually you got to separate yourself from that person because, it's just not, how does Nikki say? It's a waste of time, or is it helpful? Well, maybe not. So yeah, that's my thought on that.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Step 10 is a great starting point, and it can't hurt whatever we do of this program, is it, when we're struggling. So thanks again, Justin. It was such a great Rico 12 speaker meeting for all addicts and their loved ones. If we didn't get to your question or if you have any other questions, please consider joining our WhatsApp community by sending an email to rico12pod@gmail.com and joining our community and ask those questions. If you'd like to be a future speaker on Rico 12, please send an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. Again, them links are in the chat and also in the show notes of Rico 12 website. If you've not yet rated and reviewed the podcast in Apple Podcasts, please go do so now. It's a great way to work step 12 in this manner, sharing this message with others. And we've invited the audience back next week, where we have, if I can find it, I know it's Eric next week on step 11, which is really exciting. And again, the same setup where Eric will be sharing on step 11, followed by Q&A afterwards. Really exciting stuff. So one last bit of service over to you, Justin, to lead us out on the prayer of your choice, my love.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm gonna lead us out with the empty me prayer, the one that we just talked about here. God, empty us of selfishness, of resentment, of fear, of dishonesty, wherever that may be in our lives. Fill us with honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love, and use us as we go out from here to do your bidding, to spread that honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love to all who may be in our path. Amen.
There is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Stick and stay, guys, and when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down. Let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it, you are worth it.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low, but now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.